What are you doing?
Little did we know that Armie Hammer would turn out to be quite the dog in real life, and a man-eating dog at that. Jesse Shade here for Awfully Good Movies, on behalf of the JoBlo YouTube network. And without even seeing a single frame of the new Disney Snow White remake, I can already confidently say that Mirror Mirror is the far superior Snow White remake. And that is for one simple fact, and one simple fact alone, using real dwarves to play these 7 dwarves. No offense to Peter Dinklage, but I would rather take Mickey from Seinfeld and that little bald guy from Pirates of the Caribbean over either these hollow-eyed lawn gnomes or the original idea that Disney had for this remake, where they were going to make only one of them a dwarf and make all of them dress up like they're the medieval times version of the Burger King Kids Club.
Weird.
You're darn right that it's weird, Rachel Zegler, but not any necessarily less weird than this utter modernized retelling of the classic Brothers Grimm fairy tale, now with 75% more Nathan Lane, in the fairest of all episodes of Awfully Good Movies. Once upon a time, the kingdom of Hollywood found itself fresh out of ideas, until one day, a brilliant idea came to their heads. Movies based on fairy tales make money. You don't have to pay money to adapt public domain fairy tales. Hey, let's make some new fairy tale movies. And so Hollywood rejoiced and did make fairy tale movies, including Disney's new live-action remake of its classic Cinderella, from director Kenneth Branagh in an attempt to make people forget he was responsible for Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit. But for every 75% of fairy tale movies that make mad money at the box office, there's another 25% that get banished to the enchanted forest of shit. And such is the case with today's subject, Mirror Mirror, also known as the other Snow White adaptation from 2012 that didn't have Kristen Stewart in it. But where Snow White and the Huntsman was successful enough to get a prequel, Mirror Mirror, well, it got an Oscar nomination for Best Costume Design, but then again, so did 102 Dalmatians. So, Mirror Mirror on the wall, is this Snow White the fairest of them all? Also, why the fuck am I talking to a mirror? I've got a movie review, goddammit! So in case you've been living under a rock for your whole life, which I really have to applaud because that seems like it'd be hard to do, you know the basic setup of Snow White. Girl talks to birds, Queen throws her ass out, she meets some short people, eats some bad fruit, gets sexually assaulted in her sleep, the end! Well, this retelling throws more than a few wrenches into the works, one of them being the casting of the decidedly not wicked Julia Roberts as Snow White's wicked stepmother. She doesn't care terribly much for her stepdaughter Snow, as played by Phil Collins' daughter Lily Collins, as she proves to be a threat to her control of the throne, among other things.
There is something about you that's just so incredibly irritating. The slump shoulders, the hair, that voice.
Oh, I know what it is about her that you hate. It's those fucking Groucho Marx eyebrows. Are we sure that girl's real dad isn't Eugene Levy? But things start to get twisted when the palace is visited by a dashing prince played by Armie Hammer, continuing his Quantum Leap-esque adventure and finding that big breakout role after The Social Network.
The prince is here. It said he has an army.
Well, hell yeah, he'd bring an army with him. His name is Armie. So Queen Julia decides to overthrow her competition for the prince's hand in marriage and have her stepdaughter killed, but gets lucky when the queen's servant Brighton decides to pussy out. He's played by Nathan Lane, and his skill for broad comedy makes this movie far more enjoyable.
Run as fast as you can and as far away from here as possible. Like this.
Another saving grace of this movie are the 7 dwarves who end up saving Snow, who are reimagined here as a group of badass bandits who break out accordion stilts and indoctrinate Snow White into their gang to take the throne from the queen. These guys are genuinely funny and charming, and goes to show that there are plenty of small actors out there who can make the best out of stereotypical parts. You hear me, fake dwarves from Snow White and the Huntsman? But aside from those performances, as well as the amusingly bitchy queen played by Julia Roberts, the 2 leads we're saddled with in this flick are far less successful. As Snow White, Lily Collins is a damn pretty girl, but as a character who transitions from naive princess to wily thief, she doesn't pull off a convincing transformation and just stays fairly bland throughout most of the movie. And though we know Armie Hammer has got some talent, he's kinda left adrift in how to play his character here. When he's asked to play his character Goofy, he plays him way too goofy.
You have to take me back to my precious queen. I yearn for the nectar of her skin.
When he's asked to play him straight, he goes far too straight. and even comes off as a dick sometimes. What the fuck's up with the ass spanking, dude? Are we watching 50 Shades of Snow now? Now I'll give it this, the costumes and sets are extraordinary to look at, as they usually are in the films of this flick's director, Tarsem Singh. But much like the worst films of any visually beautiful director like Tim Burton or Terry Gilliam, he goes too far in focusing on the visuals to see if the story is maintaining a consistent tone. Sometimes it's a straightforward fairy tale, sometimes it's a straight up cartoon. And for the love of God, will someone give the editors of this movie some Ritalin? But for all the complaints I have with this movie, I just can't find it in me to hate it too much. It moves along pretty fast, it looks great, it's got a good joke here and there, and if I were an 8 or 9 year old watching this movie, I know I'd have a blast with it. Hell, I've liked my fair share of crap when I was a kid. So the worst I can say about this one is that I think they should have changed the title to Meh Roar. Am I right? Okay, I may have stolen that one from Gene Shalit's pile of rejected jokes, but hell, I've already stolen his mustache, so don't worry, he'll be cool about it. Now it's time to drink along with the movie and make you happy, sleepy, and dopey all at once. Get ready for the awfully good drinking game. Take a shot or drink every time Snow White takes her hoodie on or off. Well, wait a minute, aren't hoodies supposed to be smaller to keep the cold out? Look how huge that shit is. That is a particularly ineffective hoodie, Missy. You spot a different costume in the costume ball scene. Oh look, you've got Snow White wearing the remains of Bjork's Oscar dress. And you've got a deer, and you've got a guy dressed up as my dad's hairy ball sack. I'm sorry, did Netflix send me a copy of Eyes Wide Shut instead? The dwarves break out their hydraulic stilt thingies. Oh, hell, I screwed that all up. I meant to say the little people break out their hydraulic stilt thingies. My apologies. The Queen pays a visit to her mirror on the wall, who apparently is a living photograph of a woman from the Civil War. And take a double shot when the dude who played Mayor Ebert in that shitty Godzilla remake rocks this awesome wig. So for those of you looking for a Dr. Weird for the live-action Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, I think we found your man.
Ha!
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
And on the nudity watch, well, aside from Armie Hammer's rippling pecs, you're getting zilch in this PG movie. So I would like to take the opportunity instead to let you know that Sean Bean pops up in this movie and manages to stay alive till the end of it. Hooray! Yay! Oh, yeah! On the enjoyableness continuum scale from Bold to Bruce, Mirror Mirror doesn't end up outdoing Disney, but casts enough of a spell to reach a 6 out of 10. Hi-ho! More like ho-hum! Okay, I'll stop with the rejected Gene Shalit jokes. I'm sorry. I'm Jesse Shea for JoBlo.com, and before we wrap up this episode, allow me to introduce you to the vision that will now be haunting your nightmares from now on. Six-armed Nathan Lane! He's mastered the arts of musical theater.
And eating your soul!
JoBlo, he sure likes to drink a lot. JoBlo won't just really like the heroin. JoBlo, he's not just like the...
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.